look at the other girls, every single girl, apart from me, all had multiple choices of men to step forward for them. Every single girl, apart from me.
Black women on reality TV dating shows are always sitting in a very precarious situation, and what we're seeing play out on this season of Love Island USA is no different.
I'm tired of false advertising on these reality dating shows. Specifically, how y'all use Black women as a focal point, and then they're nowhere to be found once the show starts.
I literally just lost a mic, but it's okay. We're gonna push forward. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. And as you can see, we are going to be talking about Black women and dating reality TV shows. And I want to talk to you about this because you have probably heard the discourse about the breakup of Jana and Kenny from Love Island USA season 6 and what is transpiring, or what has transpired, between Whitney and Lachlan, who was part of Love Island UK season 10. And it seemed as though these two events kind of happened at the same time. So I wanted to dig deeper. So this video will be talking about Black women in the reality dating world, and I'll be focusing on cis heterosexual Black women in particular. I will be going to talk about dating in general, and then this video will go on to speak about Black women's undesirability in the media, which will lead on to Black women in reality TV shows. And I will bring up some examples such as Kenny and Janae, Lachlan and Whitney, and Lauren and Cameron. And I don't want to say get to the root of the problem because this is deeper than reality TV, but explore it in depth. I am Serena the Journalist, and I hope you enjoy this video. Okay, so we know it's no secret that Black women has had it hard when dating, and dating when it comes to reality TV shows. It's hard for Black women. Most of us will hear a story time on TikTok or a rant on Twitter that speaks about Black women's experiences, and some people go onto podcasts, and it seems as though there's this whole negative energy rather than more positive vibes when it comes to Black women and dating. But I'm not just going to say that Black women have the only issue when dating. I think right now there is just a big struggle in dating nowadays anyway. And when you have so many different dating apps and so many different people being able to voice their opinions on certain things online and podcasts, it makes it harder for us just to date. And people are basically, I believe, oversaturated with the amount of opinions they feel like they have, and the mentality that the grass is always greener on the other side. And as a fellow Black woman, actually, do I want to share my experience as a fellow Black woman on this video in dating? We'll see. We'll see how the video goes. We'll see how I'm feeling. We'll see. Anyway, the dating world basically sucks, which is why so many dating shows are around and popular nowadays, which I do believe at the start that these dating shows were trying to help people find love and find partners and husbands and wives. And I believe that dating shows did have a good intention, but I feel like because now it's so popular and people have been able to make huge amounts of money and become kind of famous and influencers off of it, dating shows are kind of now like a business deal. And if you go on a dating show, you can possibly be satisfied for like the next few years. I don't mean buy a house or anything, but satisfied as like get flown out for free, go on brand deals and go to concerts and award shows and travel and live your best life as someone who's probably in their 20s and their 30s. And when we think of dating shows, naturally Love Island comes to my head, but also shows like First Dates, which I feel like still have a genuine sort of atmosphere because you hear a lot of older couples go on these shows and try to actually find love. And now you also have Love is Blind, where we have Cameron and Lauren, who met on the first season, who have done amazing for themselves, and I will discuss that as well. We have Too Hot to Handle, and with these shows I feel as though we're going into a danger of making it about sexual attraction, more about love. And for a certain degree, I do get that unfortunately sex does sell, so there are going to be sexual elements when it comes to TV dating shows, just to keep the audience coming back. Like, what does that say about our society? What does that say about our society? But in hindsight, dating is hard, and dating shows show the experience of women, especially Black women on the shows, and really highlighting the things, the struggles that they have to go through in reality. And before I start to talk about Black women in dating shows specifically, I want to just talk about Black women in love in the media. When we watch romance films, Black women are rarely the main love interest. unless it's a film that is debunked a black film. And by that, I mean a film that has a majority of black people other than Marvel, which people will immediately categorize as a film that only black people would be interested in. So many people would think, what's that movie called? How to think like a man, or The Perfect Find, or there's this other one. I can't remember the film right now, but I'm gonna put it here. This is the film that I'm talking about. So these would all be classed as black films just because there's a majority black cast. But we see the erasure of love in statistics, with about a dozen of statistics saying that black women are more likely to be single, get married later, get divorced, just a negative discourse around black women and love in general. There's an article called The Hypersexualation and Undesirability of Black/African Women, which was by Nicole Seck. And she writes, the dominant group's misrepresentation of Black/African sexuality has led to the silencing of copies of sexuality, desire, and gender relations within our communities, along the terms running the ratio of histories of institutionalized rape, puritanist indoctrination, and imperial advertising. Now, this is kind of going back to slavery times, when white people used to need to justify the need of rape, so they would blame it on black women as they apparently hypersexualize their body due to the way black women's body have been exploited and objectified. And because of this, Seck writes, Black/African women have historically silenced their sexuality as a way of securing a chaste image of themselves. So as to counteract negative stereotypes and representations of them, the silencing has resulted in the refusal of Black/African women to speak out against sexual abuse as well as sexual exploitation. To this day, women of African descent may choose to not report their partners to the authority in fear that they will further stigmatize Black Africans people experience. For years, society has been saying that the only value Black women have is sexuality, but being hypersexualized does not mean that you're seen as desirable, and especially not in a romantic lens. This means that Black women were never able to access their femininity, which I spoke about in my previous video, so please check that out. But that Black women fell victim to be seen as people who lacked self-discipline in every way, whilst their white counterparts were able to embody this femininity that called them dainty and vulnerable. In this particular society, to be seen as desirable means as though you have to be seen as vulnerable, which is what the media pushes in their movies. But in these movies, Black women never really represent this role. It's always, most of the time, about struggle of the strong Black woman, whereas a white woman could play these dainty characters and be praised for it. And so even if a Black woman would get this role, she would definitely have to be of a lighter complexion and quite slim to be a closer proximity to whiteness. Think Halle Berry, think Zendaya. It's still rare that dark-skinned Black women are seen as a love interest, and Seck writes, dark-skinned enslaved women were often viewed in terms of their physicality, but rarely were they thought of as innately feminine or attractive. Even if the media are trying to push diversity in their films, beauty is a currency, and white beauty is the most highest currency of them all. Whiteness is looked after and valued compared to Blackness in the media, where only a select few, commonly those with a lighter complexion, get this treatment. The rest are sort of cast off to the side. Seck writes, we as Black Africans are taken up as entertainment to a mass of people who discern our bodies as spice, which is sometimes wanted and other times not. So when we watch movies and shows, we can see the politics, why desirability in these medias are rare, if not non-existent. Saying that though, it just came to my mind because it is interesting. I remember thinking about Ross in Friends, who dated like Gabrielle Union and Charlie, I forgot that his name, but Charlie. They were Black women, and David Schwimmer, who played Ross years later down the line, said that he realized there was a diversity problem in the show, which is why he always asks Ross to have a love interest of different races. And whether this is true or not, it's interesting that these were only 2 Black women in New York in the 90s, by the way. And that would have got the show a pat on the back for having these 2 Black women as love interests. But that is the bare minimum. Okay, society have cultivated and protected this idea that Eurocentric beauty is more attractive than any other beauty, and the ideal which comes from the negative stereotype of Black women. And so this is where we go to talk about dating shows and reality TV shows and black women in these reality dating shows. Reality TV has not been kind to black women in general, and reality TV dating hasn't been the best either. For a while, black women weren't even represented on these dating shows. For instance, Samira Mighty was Love Island's first black female contestant after 4 seasons. And then she ended up leaving the show after she felt that she wouldn't be able to find anyone on the show. And I remember watching that and thinking, damn, like imagine applying for a dating show and you happen to leave because you just feel like no one will be attracted to you. That sucks. And it's been clear over time that there's been more representation in reality TV dating. But respectfully, whether that's real or scripted, representation means nothing if black women are not fully present in these stories. Black women are not an afterthought, a prop, or a tool used to hit a diversity quota. We do deserve to be properly heard and seen in these shows and these stories. The casting of black women sometimes seems limited to such ideas that maintain and reinforce harmful stereotypes. Black women are often policed in a way reminiscent of whitewashed script writing under the penetrating white gaze, and I do think that when black women step out of the narrative, of the narrow confines of the problematic narrative expected of them, they're often removed or silenced or just misplaced. You can always tell when something's happened behind the scenes. They show want to move like we're dumb, but we know we ain't dumb. We know something's happened and you ain't gonna show it. Black women for years in reality TV dating have been picked last and forced to conform to standards that they are only chosen when in last place. And Love Island has had a bad history of black women in their shows. It took 11 seasons in Love Island UK for a black woman to win the show, and that was just last year with Mimi. On the show previously, black women were forced to relive their traumas of dating on national TV. And just for a moment, let's take Yewande Byler from Love Island Season 5, where the villa were filled with men who have and love Eurocentric beauty standards, leaving little room for black women like Yewande, a dark-skinned woman, to flourish. Black women were considered an afterthought or were strictly a friend zone type of vibe. The best finding black girl was too common and almost so annoying. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means when I wrote that. It's interesting because at that season, Amber won. And yes, Amber is mixed race, but will be racialized as black. However, we cannot deny the colorism that goes on in these type of shows. Whether you see both these women as black women, you can't put the two in the same bracket when it comes to their experiences as black women and the different ways that they would have been addressed in the villa and outside in real life. With black British women's journey on shows like Love Island, it is overwhelmingly shaped by black mixed race men. And out of all the black women except for Una, not a single black woman on Love Island UK has left partnered with a man not of a black heritage. I remember a few years ago when Rachel Finney, who was on season 7 of the show, said that she was told by ITV she was put on the show due to diversity issues. And she was also the first black bombshell, meaning she entered the series as a surprise. She said that she felt undesired by her fellow white contestants who expressed that they weren't attracted to black women and felt producers were ticking boxes for diversity rather than valuing them as individuals. On season 9 of Below the Deck, Ryan and Lindsay said, "As an African American woman, there's always a stereotype for us being aggressive or being the angry black woman. That was running through my head every second of the show, but I wanted my voice to be heard." We literally saw this recently in Love Island USA season 7, where Alandra, a dark-skinned woman, made Huda cry. Alandra was literally shocked because she knew the stigma of black women having to carry the stereotype of being aggressive and had to work extra hard to not say something that would seem out of pocket. I do, and I'm sure we all agree that Serena Page did her big one and she was real on Love Island USA season 6. Like, she had many moments when America could have hated her for how she reacted to certain things, but she gave her realness. And for variety TV, that was very much missed, and that is something that isn't really, I feel like, encouraged for the sake of winning the show and getting brand deals and followers on Instagram. But this is exactly what happened to Serena because she was so real, because she did not pander to a certain trope that audiences are used to seeing and that directors are often used to executing. Saying that, America has seen more success when it comes to black women and dating, I feel like. Just on season 2 of Love Island, Justine won when she partnered with Caleb, and she then went later on to play in Love Island Games, where she also won that too. Season 4 of Love Island USA saw Zita and Timmy win, and this was all surprising because these were dark-skinned women, which goes on to my segment on Janae and He Who Shall Not Be Named, because we ain't got time for that man. I think I named him in the introduction, but I shouldn't have done that. Janae and Who Shall Not Be Named. First of all, I just want to say Love Island Season 6 USA was amazing. Sorry, and I don't normally tune in for it. I do not watch Love Island, but for that, I watched the whole season. From Andrea and Rob to PPG to Koda and Serena and Kayla and Aaron and Janae just being herself, there were so many moments that still a year later, people still hold on to. And it makes sense why they have Beyond the Villa already, because that show was a hit. I think with the cast, it was so different because the cast were able to show the hardships of dating as well as navigating friendships, being there for your friends in tough situations, and knowing your worth when it comes to dating and setting boundaries. As the sun has just come in, and I feel like it's changed the whole vibe. I do think there was something that most people could resonate with. But for Black women, the story of Janae was unfortunately too close to home. Janae Craig was 27 when she was on the show and made it to the final, but at one point it did look like that she was going to get kicked off the island for being single. Despite having supporters from people watching, she found herself in a position like many Black women before her, not being desired. She and Serena, who won the season, both had felt that lack of desirability. The pair had been in the villa since day one and were the only dark-skinned women in the show throughout. Even when new bombshells came into the villa, they found themselves not being wanted by many of them. And in an interview, Janae said, "Me and Serena literally had a heart-to-heart before Kenny came in, and she's like, I don't think it's fair that the Black girls don't get enough fair chance. Every Islander that came in, we were not their top pick, and we just thought maybe because we're Black and dark-skinned girls. It sucked. That's when we manifested what we wanted, and that's when I manifested Kenny." She also said, "I'm not going to hold you. When I was in the bottom for a quick second, I was like, there's no way America doesn't ride for us. I know Black America has to ride for me. But maybe because I'm dark-skinned, maybe." Colorism is definitely a key thing, as I mentioned before when we discussed Black women. Light-skinned women have a different experience from dark-skinned women on the show, where historically on the show they see more success, which could be due to their closer assimilation to whiteness and what is considered desirable. This is very different, however, to Black men in reality dating shows, as they are seen as some of the most desirable in the cast. It's not surprising given the long history of Black men being fetish and sexualized in our society. This leads to Black men having more power and options in the dating pool. In the shows, Black men explore their options more than Black women. We can literally take Coy, an example, who was 6'8" and was the most popular man on the first night of Love Island USA. Hannah, Serena, and Paige chose him for their couple, and it wasn't really shocking. Like, I get it. The ladies said that they were attracted to his height, and it looked like it would have been easy for him to just kind of ride it out and be in there until the final. Look at Jovi also. That literally just came to my mind. People still love him to this day and ask him to go back in the villa to this day. But shout out Janae, she literally flipped the script when it came to Coy and her dating experience on the show. Janae and Coy were coupled up on the first night, but later on had said that she felt like he wasn't giving her enough. "I can give you more conversations," he told her, but she said, "I shouldn't have to ask you though." Coy was overly confident about his place in the villa, and I feel like that's because historically Black men have been able to kind of just zoom in the villa and just zoom? What is zoom? Sorry. Black men have been able to just glide through in dating spaces on reality TV. When he was confident about his place in the villa, he said, "I don't think Janae would do me like that." But that's exactly what she did. She chose Connor. She chose someone else over him, making Coy the first person to be kicked out of the villa. And Janae's response was simple. She said, "I told myself I'd always put myself first while I'm here. So if I were to leave, it's like no regrets." And I feel like historically Black women and women in general sometimes go for the man they want despite the red flags. And so she did her big one when she chose what was best for her. It's understandable why Black women want to give Black men the benefit of the doubt, even if it could put their spot in danger. I think that there's this expectation that Black women will just match with another Black man on these shows, and that is not always the case. Like, look at India and Dami. They matched after India realized that she didn't have a connection with Ikenna. Yes, it was another Black man, but Ikenna and her did not really match romantically. Anyway, back to Janae.
She was partnered up with Connor, who then basically ditched her for Leah, and then she was with Hakeem, which I don't really know what happened there, but it didn't work out, and then she was vulnerable, but she got saved because everyone thought she was trying. She was trying her best. This then caused the whole drama when Andrea was booted out despite having a connection with Rob, and the drama, oh my god, the drama.
But anyway, Janae was saved, and a day later, that guy came in.
And they coupled up, and it looked good. Casamore came, and she decided to stay with him. He brought back someone else, and she basically wanted to leave. She said she was done taking L's, but it was all good. They got back together and came third in the show.
Whew. And then they came boyfriend and girlfriend, and now we're here. We thought they live happy ever after, but nah. Before they broke up, Jenny had said of her relationship in the villa, you know what's crazy? I'm so grateful because when I got my phone, the way they were making us the princess and the frog. I will be that beautiful chocolate queen if I need to be. And the comments like beautiful chocolate girl, I'm like, all black women are beautiful. There's this whole light skin versus dark skin, which breaks my heart. I just really don't understand that, but I will take pride and represent us well. And when this guy came in, it was like she did get her knight in shining armor. She said that she had manifested it, and we were happy that she found someone we thought was a great match for her. She had beat the odds and gained so much success as an individual and in a couple after the show. Most of us may be watching Beyond the Villa right now and have seen that he didn't want to, that I'm going to say his name, that Kenny didn't want to live with Janae because he wanted space. But it still shook us when we saw the news that they broke up and got a hint that it was because he was racist, a clout chaser, and actually wasn't attracted to black women. This was something that Janae's best friend posted about the breakup. And I think how black women have been treated in the past on these shows affects the black women who will go on in the show in the future. For instance, Nick in the season of Love Island USA had a huge crush on Alandra, but she never knew because she literally said that she didn't think she was his type. She felt she had to stick with someone that she knew and felt familiar with. Janae wrote on Instagram, "None have matched up to how terrible, disgusting, and disappointing it truly is." And so discovering that someone you loved isn't who you thought they were, and that the relationship you thought you were building hasn't been genuine since day one has been truly devastating. I think what's scary is not that just that he was a clout chaser, but the fact that he didn't even like black women and was using Janae, and the fact that she was an underdog in the show. He knew that black women had the support of voters in the show and that Janae was one of the most popular stars from the season. Capitalizing on that is sick. Sick, man. And in a very recent interview with Keke Palmer, Janae said that he liked to rub her braids when she took off her wig. And we looked at that as endearing. But the fact that he didn't even like black women, it's like, oh my gosh, what is this? A fetish? What is this? What was this? Black women are not here to raise your popularity levels. Black women don't get to pick and choose randomly like Kenny is allowed to do. For us, the hatred and discrimination we face, or they face in reality TV shows, are not something that can be toyed with. Kenny is Dominican, another minority, but a minority that as a man is more desirable than as a black woman. I don't doubt that he will have, unfortunately, no problem finding someone for him in the future. But I feel like maybe for Janae in the future, she may be thinking, does this person actually like me? Does this person actually care about black people? Like, for black women, that is a question that sometimes they have to face in their interracial relationship. Finding someone to love you shouldn't be a change as much as it is, but this show just highlights all the bull that happens that black women go through. And even though it may be risky on the outside, we're all scared that the cracks will show on the inside. But it seemed like Kenny knew that she was the underdog and tried, keyword tried, to use it to his advantage. It sucks that when black women find love, it could be questioned as whether it's genuine or not, for the sake of people believing that they're not lovable. But it's definitely better that Janae is not in this toxic relationship and that she's not with someone who actually hates her race and who actually doesn't even like black people or black women in general. Black women do deserve to have true happiness with someone who loves them for them, not someone who is using them for what they have or for what they are. But they're not the only couple that's been on the dating show and that's had rumors of racism. Whitney and Lachlan were the runners-up on Love Island's 10th season, and after 2 years of dating, called it quits this year. To be honest, I didn't think too much of their relationship, and I still kind of don't. But recently, Whitney posted something that sparked the rumor of, I don't want to clear out say racism, so let's just say microaggression. When Whitney did the post and delete, she posted this. And to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I have a problem with post and deletes, because if you're gonna post something, post it with your chest. Post it and stand in it. You're posting it and deleting it, like you're surprised at the reaction. Like, I just don't get that. Just post and stand on it. Anyway, this opened up a can of worms because people didn't believe her. And people didn't believe what she said was true until her sister came to her rescue to post screenshots of Lachlan apologizing and trying to explain why he said what he said. But here's my thing. I think a lot of people think that when people who aren't black date people who are black, something could slip up by accident, and not something in a malicious way, but something could be said that could be out of pocket or was meant to be a joke. To everyone, their relationship did look like it was full of banter and had laughs, but this clearly didn't sit well with Whitney. And Whitney later went on to say in a video that his mum would make jokes about her skin complexion, and for instance, when the lights would go off, would say, "Where's Whitney?" Which yes, is an outdated joke, but that's not been funny. That's never been funny, by the way. That's never been funny. But I think that's crazy that in the UK, a lot of people would say that these are just jokes, and these are the type of jokes that are okay, which I don't agree with. I think if you don't live in London, Birmingham, or Manchester, it's very likely that you can go a good decade or two, or even grow up without having to interact with black people at all. That therefore makes room for all these jokes to manifest and for nothing to be corrected, because they generally think they're doing nothing wrong. So when you apply for dating shows, you're literally meeting people from all over the country and interacting with people that you wouldn't have done in your day-to-day life. But whilst you go on these shows, you're also bringing some of those microaggressions and preconceived notions and thoughts that are in your mind. For instance, in the same season, Whitney was partnered up with, I forgot his name. He was French. I really remember his name. Yikes. But anyway, there was a situation in the season where Molly was crying and he said to her, "I hope you didn't make her upset," as if she had done something. And I think that just goes to show back to the mentality that black girls are troublemakers and are people who make others cry. And we've seen countless times how the UK failed to protect black women, whether that's in sports or in school. It's the same story. And as I mentioned before, Alondra literally went through the same thing where she didn't even say too much and Huda just started crying. Like, anyway, going back to Whitney, she was like the underdog of the season, and she found someone who loved her for her, and the views loved her and loved the thought of an underdog finding someone who is for her. I don't think that these dating shows give black women the support that they need, though, especially the premise of Love Island. And yes, I get that you have a type when you initially go in, but in Love Island, sometimes you go for someone who isn't your type. And in this season alone, Blue came under fire when he told Alima straight away that she wasn't his type. And this was like day one. You haven't been on the island for 24 hours and you're already telling her that she's not your type. Like, no one asked. Just go with it and see where it goes. But I think the way people responded to Whitney, they didn't initially believe her and there had to be proof. But when it came to Janae in the US, there was all this sort of support that Whitney had to kind of fight for. And that's a clear representation of how it is in the US and UK, and how different black women are treated in different areas of the world. And don't get it twisted, this is not me saying that I think black women in the US are treated amazingly. I just think that black people have more exposure in the US, and since the US is massive, there's naturally a bigger population of black women. And so I want to say, when we say protect black women, it's not a protect the black woman who's more popular. Protect black women means protect black women everywhere, in all spaces, because we can see how they're easily disregarded in their day-to-day life. If you're going to protect Janae, protect Whitney. But anyway, I think I've discussed Love Island quite a bit, and I think it's fair to discuss maybe Love is Blind, and more importantly, the relationship of Lauren and Cameron. For those who don't know, they've been married for 5 years and expecting their first child together. I love that. The couple met on Love is Blind, which is a literal dating show where you gain a connection with someone without seeing them until the last minute. By the end of the season, they fall in love and get married, but have gained that emotional connection first. There are only 8 couples in the show who are still together and going strong, Cameron and Lauren being one of them and the most famous, to be honest. I had to research the rest. I know these two off by heart. But when their season came out, people really didn't know what to expect. Seeing them real time, most people wouldn't think their personalities would match, but it did. And They went on to meet each other's families and get married. But I mention this couple as I think it's important we see how their families take to them and interact with one another. And even though we see small instances on this on shows like Love Island, sometimes it doesn't seem real because the family only have maybe an hour to speak. Most families say they love the other person, but there is no real interrogation of how your family member would be if someone was dating your loved one. I failed to see interrogation on the Love Islands. I don't watch Love Island like that, so if there has been, let me know. If I've missed something, please let me know. But going back to Love is Blind, there was a scene where Lauren's dad asked Cameron if he's ever been in a room with black people and how would he feel being the only white person in the room. He's clear that there is a racial difference and that could, for some couples, be an issue for some couples. And most people say that question was quite unnecessary, but I think it's real. And as I said, there are some places where you don't have to really interact with black people anywhere, which can lead to these preconceived notions and stereotypes that are kind of cultivated and grown through the media. And so without asking these certain questions, you don't know if they're like another Kenny or another Lachlan, or if they hold certain things to their heart, as we can clearly see. And yeah, anyone can lie and say what the other person wants to hear, but I would hope they wouldn't. I think this also sparks conversation about interracial dating in reality TV shows, especially with black women and someone who just isn't black. I do think in the media, interracial dating can be presented as a thing. This article, What We Lose When We Focus on Whiteness in Interracial Relationship by Nyla Burton, is really good actually. You should check it out. And Burton writes, currently interracial relationships are portrayed as social phenomenon to be fetishized and commodified. And perhaps most unforgivingly, this outlook strips the conversation of the only thing worth discussing: how power operates in our intimate spaces. As a society, we've grown accustomed to viewing interracial relationships of all kinds through a lens of consumption and commodification. And proper recognition of power dynamics is completely at odds with the mission of commodification. Interracial relationships on Instagram, TikTok are a prime example of this. Under hashtag mixed race family and interracial couples, one can find the most subtly noxious and quite frankly incredible cringeworthy discourse about race. She also writes, not only are relationships between white people and people of color the focus of most conversations about interracial dating, there is a focus on the non-white partner being black. Brianna Hall, an NYC-based author and writer who penned a New York Times article on how many black people feel they need to code switch an interracial relationship, points out that we tend to focus on relationships between black and white people because that's where the power disparity seems to be the greatest. And so going to this notion, it would be reasonable to ask Cameron this for dating a black woman, but not Kenny or Lachlan, as they're already minorities, and it would be assumed that there is no racial power dynamic there, and that couldn't exist with two non-white people in an interracial relationship. But Burton writes that when we erase the realities of non-white people in relationships, those power dynamics and instances of harm are allowed to flourish because they are often unexamined, unchallenged, and ignored. In these three examples, I think this statement stands perfect. We never expected Janae nor Whitney to go through something like this, and maybe people would have thought that Lauren would be more likely to go through this and go through these sort of microaggressions in her relationship compared to the other two, because Cameron is white. But we can't assume that just because someone is non-white, they won't hold these biases. We can't assume that power dynamics only really happen in black and white relationships, because it's still easy for another minority to have a negative opinion on another minority. But these people came from dating shows. So what does this say about the dating shows? It says that they need to do more diligence to protect the black women they cast.
I guess the producers can't do much about the audience, but they can do something about what goes on in the villa. And I think we need to make better choices about who we cast or how we educate the cast members before they go in.
And also, I get it, it's not the producer's fault that Kenny is how he is, for instance, and that people turn out to be someone who they didn't, audition to be. But they do enough checks where they should be able to spot these things. Let's be real. You have the world at your fingertips. I don't know how many people are on a team when it comes to dating shows, but there are enough people for you guys to do enough checks. And so I think when we are talking about black women in dating shows, it is really complicated because you have all these preconceived racial notions that they obviously don't try to listen to and don't try to be when they get into these dating shows, but sometimes are still faced with people in the same spaces as them who hold these ideas. What do you think about black women in dating shows? I'm always interested about who does go on reality dating shows, because it does take a lot of courage to go up on a national TV platform and be yourself and know that you're literally going to be judged by your personality, by your body, by your man or your partner. You are going to be judged. I think everyone who goes on dating shows are judged. I don't think it's easy, but I definitely think that black women are scrutinized more and don't get enough grace as other people on the show. And I do think that producers and directors need to do better if they want to have more black women come into their shows and if they want to have a diverse cast. I don't really watch Love Island anymore. As I said, Love Island USA was last year, was the only one that I watched, so I will not be tuning in anyway. But I will probably see on the TL, like everything that I mentioned in this video, I kind of saw already and just did more research in it. But yeah, He Shall Not Be Named, I don't know what's going on with him. Even Lizzo mentioned them in a song and I was like, damn girl, like I don't know what's going to happen with him. But what do you guys think of everything I've discussed? What do you think about the Jenny Kenny situation? About the Jenny Kenny? Oh my gosh. What do you think about the Janae and Kenny situation? What do you think about Whitney and Lachlan? Do we give more grace? I think we give more grace for black women in the US than we do in the UK. But do you think that? Do you think that black women should not even go on dating reality TV shows? Or are there particular shows that are safer for black women? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you've got to this video, I think we're about probably 40 minutes in. If you've got to the video, you might as well like, comment and subscribe. Please do. So thank you guys. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll be back hopefully soon for another video.